I was 17 when I went to our family's cabin deep in the Alaskan woods, desperate for a break from the chaos of Anchorage, which is the main city. The forest around Denali was my escape. Miles of dark, wild trees, no one for 20 miles except a distant ranger station. I had walked these trails since I was a kid, but last summer I had seen something that haunted me. Strange tracks by the creek, half human, half something else, pressed deep into the mud. They were too big, too wrong, with long, claw-like toes. I didn't tell mom or dad. They'd say I was crazy. I got to the cabin as the sky turned a sickly purple, the air sharp with pine, and a bitter cold that bit my skin. The cabin was small, one room, a rusty wood stove, a creaky cot by a cracked window. I lit a fire, its pops and hisses, the only sound in the dead quiet. I sat with my tattered copy of Dracula, loving the safe fear of stories. My backpack had jerky, granola, and coffee, enough for 3 days. I felt alone, but the woods outside seemed alive, like they were staring back. Around 10 p.m., I was reading when a noise froze me. A low, guttural hum, like a throat clearing in the distance. But wrong, like it came from something that didn't breathe right. It wasn't the wind. The trees stood still. It wasn't a bear or wolf. It felt purposeful, almost human, but not. My breath caught. I grabbed my flashlight, its beam jittery as I aimed into the window. Nothing but frost on the pines. My heart pounded. I told myself it was nothing, but the hum came again, closer, shaking the cabin's thin wall like a heartbeat. I locked the door, the flimsy bolt rattling. Sleep was impossible. I sat on the cot, clutching the hunting knife Dad insisted I carry. At midnight, the hum stopped, and I thought it was over. Then came footsteps, heavy, uneven, crunching through the frozen brush. They circled the cabin, slow, stopping at each window. I pointed my flashlight, but the beam caught only shadows. The steps dragged, like whatever was out there was too heavy for his own body. "It's just a bear," I whispered. But bears don't hum. Bears don't pause to listen. The steps stopped at the door. Silence. Then a single, hard knock. My stomach twisted. No one could be out there. No one human. Another knock. Louder, shaking the frame. Then a voice, low and garbled, like it was choking on the words it didn't understand. It wasn't English. It wasn't anything. I backed against the wall, knife in the hand, my fingers numb. The doorknob turned, slow, testing the lock. The door groaned as something leaned into it, the wood cracking like it might snap. I bit my lip to keep from screaming. Then the footsteps retreated, fading into the trees. I stayed frozen for an hour, waiting for it to return. At dawn, I forced myself outside. The air was thick, the forest silent as a grave. Around the cabin, I found cracks, huge, barefoot, with long, claw-like toes dug into the dirt. They weren't human, not even close. They led to the creek, where I'd seen those prints last summer. I shouldn't have followed, but I did. My heart hammering. The path twisted through the dense pines, the tracks fresher, deeper. My boots sank through the frosty ground, my breath clouding in the cold. At the creek, the tracks stopped in a clearing. In the center was a pile of bones, elk, deer, small animals, stacked in a spiral, gleaming white, some still wet with blood. And the spiral's heart was a handprint in the mud, too big, with fingers that looked stretched and long. My pulse roared. I turned to run, but the hum started again. everywhere, vibrating through the trees like a swarm of insects. It was close, angry, clawing at my ears. I ran, branches steering at my face, my knife still in my hand. The hum chased me louder, boring into my skull. I tripped, crashing into the dirt, my flashlight skidding away. When I looked up, I saw it. It stood at the clearing's edge, just beyond the trees, tall, impossibly thin, its limbs bent at angles that made my stomach lurch, like a spider's stomach prawn. Its face, if you could call it that, a dark blur where eyes should be. But I felt it staring, peeling me apart. The hum poured from it, so loud my treat ached. It took a step, its long legs jerking, and the air turned freezing, heavy like it was choking me. The hum became a growl, low and broken, and it spoke my name, Leela, dragging it out like a knife across stone. I scrambled up, my legs shaking, and ran. Its footsteps followed, not fast, but steady, like it knew I couldn't get far. The trees seemed to close in, branches snagging my jacket, my hair. The hum grew deafening, splitting my head, and the smell hit me, rotten, like meat left to decay. I glanced back just once and saw it moving through the trees. Its blurry face looked on me, its body bending into ways no living thing should. It raised an arm, too long, its fingers curling, like they could reach me from yards away. I stumbled, my breath burning, and felt something cold brush my neck, like a hand that wasn't there. I screamed, my voice lost in the hum. The forest seemed to twist, the path stretching longer, the cabin too far. My legs gave out, but I crawled, sobbing, until I reached the door. I slammed it shut, shoving the cot and a chair against it, my hands trembling so bad I dropped my knife. The hum stayed outside, cycling, friendless, all day. It pressed against the walls, the windows, like it was testing the cabin's edges. At night, the knocking came. Walls, roof, windows, hard and sharp, like claws. The voice rasped my name again. Leela. Closer. Right outside the glass, I saw a shadow move. Too tall, its head tilting like it was trying to see me through the cracks. It curled up the floor, hands over my ears, the hum drilling into me. The air felt wrong, heavy with that rotting smell. Something stretched at the window, slow and deliberate, like it wanted me to look. I didn't. I couldn't. By morning, the hum stopped. The silence was worse, like the world was holding its breath. I grabbed my bag and ran 10 miles to my car at the trailhead, feeling eyes on my back the whole day. The forest stayed quiet, but I knew it was still there, watching. Back in Anchorage, I told no one. Who'd believe me? I never went back to the cabin. Months later, a ranger found it boarded up. The door scarred with deep, claw-like marks. The windows cracked. The bones by the creek were gone, but the handprint was deeper, like something heavy had pressed it again and again. I don't go near the woods now. I keep my lights on at night, but the hum follows me in my dreams, loud and hungry. Sometimes in my quiet apartment, I hear my name whispered from the dark, and feel that cold touch on my neck, like it's still reaching for me. The silence was the first medicine. After 20 years of hospital corridors, beeping monitors, and the low, constant hum of human suffering, the quiet of lost leaf flake was a cure. I, Dr. Aris Thorne, had prescribed it for myself. A month alone to treat the tightness in my own chest that no EKG could explain. For a week, it worked. I read, I fished, I breathed air that didn't smell of antiseptic. I was a man of science, and the orderly decay of the wilderness soothed me. Then, on the 8th day, I found my first patient. It was a rabbit, lying on a flat stone beside the path. Its chest was open, not torn, opened. The ribs are splayed with a precision I'd only see in an operating theater. The heart was gone. My medical mind kicked in, a detached part of me admiring the clean incision in the intercostal muscles before the horror crashed down. This was not the work of any animal I knew. That night, I heard the cough, a wet, rattling sound from the trees, a deep-seated pulmonary edema. My mind diagnosed it instantly. Pleural effusion, possibly advanced pneumonia. I peered out the window, my own heart hammering against my ribs, seeing nothing but the oppressive dark. The next morning, a fox was on my doorstep. Its thoracic cavity was empty, a bloodless dissection. The lungs were missing. The cough from the night before echoed in my memory. A collection. Something was building, a respiratory system. My own breath began to feel shallow. The phantom tightness in my chest returned, a cold, clinical fear. I had to get out. My supplies were low. My truck was 5 miles down a fire road. I packed a bag. My hands, usually so steady during surgery, trembling as I fastened the straps. I left at first light, stepping into a world swallowed by a thick, grey fog. The silence was gone, replaced by the sound of my own panicked breathing and something else, a soft, slithering drag, keeping the pace with me in the woods to my right. I ran. Branches clawed my face. My foot caught on a root, and I went down hard, my glasses flying off. I scrambled on all fours, blind and gasping, and stumbled into a small clearing, and I saw it, a tall, gaunt, its skin a gray membrane that seemed to drink the light. It leaned on one elongated arm, the source of the dragging sound. The other arm ended in a cluster of pale, writhing filaments that twitched in the air like nervous fingers. But it was the face that stopped me. The stripped away signs and left only a raw, animal terror. It had no face, just a smooth, concave hollow, and in that hollow, pulsing with a weak, arrhythmic light, was a human heart. Below it, rising and falling with a terrible, wet hit, was a pair of diseased-looking lungs. They rattled with every strained breath. This was my patient. It took a shambling step toward me. The filaments stretched out, not in attack, but in a desperate, supplicating gesture. It wasn't a monster. It was a desperately sick creature, piecing itself together with stolen parts. And it had run out of animal solutions. It needed a specialist. A final hacking cough racked its body. A spray of dark fluid misting in the air between us. The stolen lungs were failing. I tried to stand, to run, but my legs wouldn't obey. The world began to tunnel, the fog closing in. The last thing I saw was the creature lurching over me. Its hollow face, its display of stolen, failing anatomy, filling my vision. The filaments gently brushed against my chest, over my own hammering heart, with the terrible, specific curiosity of a physician making a diagnosis. I woke up in my own bed. For a moment, wild, Disbelieving hope floods me. A nightmare, a stress-included hallucination. The tightness in my chest is gone. I feel fine, better than fine. I feel perfectly unnaturally still. I sat up. The cabin is dark, too dark. The windows are sealed with over what looks like thick black resin. The only light comes from a faint, rhythmic glow from my own body. I look down. My pajama top is gone. My chest is gone. In its place is a hollow cavity. Open into the air, my ribs are splayed outwards, held open by an invisible, unbreakable force. And where my heart and lungs should be, there is only a dark, empty space. A soft, slithering sound comes from the corner of the room. I try to scream, but I have no lungs to push the air. I am a silent, living statue. The thing moves into the faint light. It's different now. Its movements are smoother. Its own hollow face is no longer empty, nestled within it, pulsing with a strong, steady, healthy rhythm with my heart below it. My lungs inflate and deflate with silent, perfect efficiency. It stands over me. It's featureless, head tilted. It is the doctor now. I am the patient. I am the specimen. It reaches out with those pale filaments. They do not touch my open chest. Instead, they gently wipe the tears off my cheek that I cannot feel. A gesture of cold, clinical pity. Then it turns and slips out the door, which seals itself shut behind it with the same black resin. I am left in perfect darkness. I cannot move. I cannot speak. I cannot even breathe on my own. But I can hear the world outside, the wind in the trees, the call of a loon on the lake. And I can hear from somewhere deep into the woods, the faint, wet, rattling cough of another patient. The rain was the first bad sign. It didn't just fall, it attacked us. It was like a solid wall of water hitting our little car. The sound was so loud that we had to almost shout to hear each other. My boyfriend Leo was gripping the steering wheel so hard his knuckles were white. My phone just died. I told him, my voice shaking. "The GPS is completely gone. The map disappeared." "It's okay, Chloe," he said. But he didn't sound sure. "That man at the gas station said the cabin was just 10 miles up this road. We cannot have missed it." But we had been driving for what felt like forever. The trees on both sides of the road were like a dark, wet wall closing in on us. The headlights only showed more rain and more trees. I felt a cold fear starting to grow in my stomach. Then lightning flashed. For one single moment, the whole forest was as bright as day. And in that moment, I saw him. A man was standing between the trees. He wasn't trying to get out of the rain. He was just standing there, completely still. His clothes were dark and soaked. His face was what made my blood run cold. It was pale white and smooth. No eyes, no nose, no mouth. Just a blank, white oval staring right at our car. "Leo!" I gasped, grabbing his arm. "I saw him!" Leo said quickly. He stepped harder on the gas pedal. The car skidded a little on the wet road. "It was just someone caught in the storm, a hunter or something." But I knew it wasn't. Hunters wear bright colors. This man was all dark, with that terrible white face, and he hadn't moved at all. He had just stood there, watching us. About 5 minutes later, the car engine made a spurring sound. It coughed once, twice, and then died completely. "No, no, no!" Leo muttered. He turned the key in the ignition. Nothing happened. The dashboard lights flickered and went dark. The windshield wipers stopped moving, leaving the window covered in water. We were sitting in complete darkness, with only the sound of the pounding rain. "What are we going to do?" I whispered, my voice trembling. "We have to stay here," Leo said. "We'll wait until morning. Someone will come down this road eventually. We just have to wait." Then another lightning flash came. This time, the man was closer. He was right at the edge of the trees now, still standing perfectly still with that blank white face pointed right at our car. "Leo," I said, my throat tight with fear. "He's closer, he's much closer now." Leo didn't say anything, but I could feel the fear coming from him too. We sat there in the dark, not talking, just listening to the rain and our own frightened breathing. That's when we heard the first tap. It was a single, sharp sound on the roof of the car, right above where I was sitting. We both froze. Then it came again. Tap, tap. "It's just a branch, okay?" Leo said, but his voice was shaking. "There must be a tree branch hitting on the roof in the wind." But then the tapping got faster. Tap, 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 tap. It didn't sound like a branch anymore. It sounded like fingers. Long, hard fingers tapping quickly on the metal roof. I started to cry quietly. "It's not a branch, Leo." Then the biggest lightning flash yet lit up the whole forest for 1 second. Everything was bright as noon. Then he was right there, outside Leo's window. His white face was pressed against the glass. It wasn't a face at all. It was a mask. A smooth, featureless mask made of something pale. Water was streaming down it, and he was so tall that he had to bend his head at a strange angle to look inside. Leo screamed, a raw, terrified sound I had never heard from him before. He frantically hit the door lock button over and over. Then I looked at my window. Another one was there. The same white mask. The same tall, dark body. I looked through the windshield. A third one was standing right in front of our car. We were completely surrounded. The tapping on the roof started again, even faster now. Then a new sound began. A slow, steady thumping against the sides of the car. Thump, thump, thump. It wasn't trying to break in. It was just a rhythm. It sounded like a giant heartbeat. The white-faced men began to move. They started swaying slowly from side to side, back and forth, all in perfect time with the thumping sound. I was sobbing now. Leo reached over and held my hand. His hand was as cold as ice. Then, suddenly, all the sounds stopped. The tapping stopped. The thumping stopped. The only sound was the rain falling. The man outside Leo's window slowly lifted his head. He placed his palm flat against the glass. The other two did the same with their hands. Then they pushed. The car made a terrible groaning sound. The metal screamed. I felt our car start to tilt on the side. "No!" Leo yelled. "Stop!" The world turned upside down. There was a crashing, smashing sound as the glass broke everywhere. I was thrown against the roof, which was now the floor, and Leo landed heavily beside me. Everything hurt. When I could see again, I realized we were lying in darkness. Cold rain was coming through the broken windows. I tried to move, but something heavy was on my leg. Leo was next to me. He wasn't moving. I looked up through what had been the windshield. The three men were standing together, looking down at our wrecked car. Their blank white faces showed no emotions, no anger, no satisfaction, nothing. Then, without a sound, they all turned the same time. They walked away into the trees and rain. They were gone. Now I'm lying here in the cold and the dark. The rain is still falling on us. Cold water is coming into the car. It's already up to my waist. Leo still isn't moving. I'm so cold I can't stop shaking. We were all alone out here. No one knows where we are. No one is coming to find us. The white-faced men didn't kill us. They didn't need to. They just left us here in this broken car, in this cold rain, to slowly disappear. And that is so much worse than being killed quickly. The slow, cold, wet end is the most terrifying thing I've ever known.